everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to be giving you a guide for some comps that you can use in Arena this season to climb up to Grandmaster. Let's get straight into it. So the first team consists of Elder Faerie, Burning Spice, Shadow Milk, Fire Spirit, and Pure Vanilla Awakened. The treasures used on this team are Insignia, Watch, and the Vial. First up is Elder Faerie. On Elder Faerie you want to run a full cooldown topping set, so that's 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart. On the substats you want to try and get cooldown and damage resist subs. You want to try and aim for 25% plus damage resist and then as much cooldown as you can get. On the beast gear I would recommend also running damage resist or HP, whichever you have. Next up is Burning Spice. On Burning Spice you want to run 5 attack toppings and an attack tart. You also want to run a full damage resist bypass beast gear. On your topping substats you should be trying to aim for around 20 to 25% damage resist and the rest should go into some cooldown and attack. Next up is Shadow Milk. On Shadow Milk you want to run a full cooldown set, so 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart. You also want to aim for 20 to 25% plus damage resist on Shadow Milk. On Shadow Milk's beast gear you want to run full damage resist bypass. Next up is Fire Spirit. On Fire Spirit you want to run 5 attack toppings and an attack tart, and then on your beast gear you want to run full cooldown. Overall you want to try and aim for 30% cooldown on Fire Spirit. You also want to try and aim for around 20 to 25% damage resist. Next up is Pure Vanilla Awakened. On Pure Vanilla Awakened you want to aim for 20% cooldown and 35% damage resist and then put the rest into attack. So I do this by running 5 attack toppings with a damage resist tart, and then I run 3 cooldown lines on my beast gear and a damage resist line. Here you can see the team in action. This team is a counter to the Snapdragon team.
Deserve no mercy.
The next team I'm going to show you consists of Burning Spice, Shadow Milk, Fire Spirit, Awakened Pure Vanilla, and Snapdragon. The treasures used for this team are Insignia, Vial, and Watch. So first up is Burning Spice. On Burning Spice you want to run a full attack set, so 5 attack toppings and an attack tart. You want to try and run around 20 to 25% damage resist, and you also want to get cooldown subs on your topping. For the beast gear you want to run full damage resist bypass. Next up is Shadow Milk. On Shadow Milk you want to run 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart. You want to try and get as much cooldown from toppings as you can. And then you also want to aim for 20 to 25% damage resist and a full damage resist bypass beast gear. Next up is Fire Spirit. On Fire Spirit you want to run full attack toppings and an attack tart. You want to run a full cooldown beast gear. You want at least 30% cooldown and 20 to 25% damage resist. Next up is Awakened Pure Vanilla. On Awakened Pure Vanilla you want to run 20% cooldown and 35% damage resist. These are the two you should focus on first, and then you should get the rest of your stats into attack. So the way I do this is I run a full attack topping set, and then I run a damage resist tart, and I run a 3-line cooldown beast gear and a 1-line damage resist beast gear. And then the last cookie is Snapdragon. On Snapdragon you want to run a full cooldown set, so 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart, and then a full cooldown beast gear. Any subs on your topping should go into attack and crit. So here's this team in action. This team works best against any team which is using Cream Ferret. Now for the next team, I'm going to show you the Cream Ferret comp. So this team consists of Burning Spice, Shadow Milk, Fire Spirit, Awaken Pure Vanilla, and Cream Ferret. The treasures used for this team are Watch, Vial, and the Torch. On Burning Spice, you want to run full attack toppings with an attack top and a damage resist bypass biscuit. You want to try and aim for 20 to 25% damage resist on Burning Spice, and you also want to get some subs into cooldown. On Shadow Milk, you want to run a full cooldown set. Just get as much cooldown as you can from toppings, and then use a full damage resist bypass biscuit. On Shadow Milk, you also want to aim for around 20 to 25% damage resist. On Fire Spirit, you want to run full attack toppings and an attack tart with a cooldown biscuit. On Fire Spirit, you want to aim for 20 to 25% damage resist as well as 30% cooldown. On Awaken Pure Vanilla, you want to run at least 20% cooldown, 35% damage resist, and then as much attack as you possibly can. I run full attack toppings, then I run damage resist top, and I run a 3-line cooldown, 1-line damage resist biscuit. On Cream Ferret, you want to run full cooldown toppings, get as much cooldown as you can, then try and aim for 20 to 25% in damage resist and get as much attack as you can. And here's the run in action. So this team works best against anyone who is using Elder Faerie. So, the next comp up is the Rockstar Comp. This team uses Burning Spice, Shadow Milk, Fire Spirit, Awaken Golden Cheese, and Rockstar. The treasures used for this team are Insignia, Watch, and Vial. First up is Burning Spice. On Burning Spice, you want to run 5 attack toppings and an attack tart. You want to aim for 20 to 25 damage resist on the subs, as well as cooldown subs on your toppings, and you want a full damage resist bypass biscuit. Next up is Shadow Milk. On Shadow Milk, you want to run a full cooldown set, so 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart. You want to get as much cooldown from toppings as you can. You also want 20 to 25% damage resist and a full damage resist bypass biscuit. Fire Spirit is the next cookie for this team. You want to run 5 attack toppings and an attack tart. You also want to run a 4-line cooldown biscuit aiming for 30% or more cooldown. You also want 20 to 25% damage resist on Fire Spirit. Then we have Awaken Golden Cheese. On Awaken Golden Cheese, you want to run full attack, so run 5 attack toppings and an attack tart, and then you want to run a full damage resist bypass biscuit. You also want to aim for some subs in damage resist. And then finally, we have Rockstar. On Rockstar, you want to run a full cooldown build, so 5 cooldown toppings and a cooldown tart and a full cooldown biscuit. You also want to get some subs into damage resist. This team works best against Snapdragon. Here is the team in action. So next up is the Financier Comp. This comp consists of Financier, Burning Spice, Shadow Milk, Fire Spirit, and Pure Vanilla Awakened. The treasures used for this team are Watch, Vial, and Insignia. So first up on Financier, you want to run 5 damage resist toppings as well as a damage resist tart. You want to aim for 75% damage resist, which is the damage resist cap. You then want to run as much cooldown as you possibly can. So if you have a 4-line cooldown biscuit, you should put this on Financier. Next up is Burning Spice. On Burning Spice, you want to run full attack toppings with an attack tart. You want to aim for 20 to 25% damage resist, and you want to get subs in cooldown. On Burning Spice, you also want a full damage resist bypass biscuit. Next up is Shadow Milk. On Shadow Milk, you want to run full cooldown toppings, and then on the substats, you want to run as much damage resist as you can. Try and aim for at least 20 to 25%. And then you also want to run a full damage resist bypass beast kit on Shadow Milk. Next up is Fire Spirit. On Fire Spirit you want to run full attack toppings and an attack tart. You want to aim for 30% cooldown and you should use a full line cooldown beast kit. You also want to try and get 20 to 25% damage resist on Fire Spirit. And finally for this team it's a Weak and Pure Vanilla. On a Weak and Pure Vanilla you want to first focus on 20% cooldown and then 35% damage resist and then just get as much attack as you possibly can. This team works best as a counter to Rockstar. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate if you liked and subscribed. I also really appreciate it if maybe you have any corrections or any other team ideas if you leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!